India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Middle East remains on the edge, even as UN and world leaders call for maximum restraint after Iran's attack on Israel. Biden warns Israel that US will not take part in any retaliatory action against Iran. Trump's efforts to delay New York criminal trials stemming from hush money paid to an adult star fail. Jury selection for first ever criminal trial of a former US president due to start in a New York state court. Campaigning for the first phase running in full steam, with political parties garnering support for their candidates. India's Prime Minister to address public rally in South Indian states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And in football, Bayern Leverkusen secure their first ever Bundesliga title, ending an 11-year stranglehold on the league by Bayern Munich. Diplomats at the UN Security Council called for restraint following Iran's drone attack on Israel on Saturday. The council met for an emergency meeting on Sunday, with members fearing a full-blown spillover of the conflict in the region. DD India's Jody Jacobs reports from New York.
It was a tense UN Security Council meeting, and with the UN Secretary General present, an indication perhaps that this matter is of international importance, and the fear of a full-blown conflict in that region is now real. Antonio Guterres has called for calm, saying that the world does not need another war.
The Middle East is on the brink. The people of the region are confronting a real danger of a devastating full-scale conflict. Now is the time to defuse and de-escalate. Now is the time for maximum restraint.
Israel, who called for the meeting, said Iran had crossed every red line and it reserves the right to retaliate.
This attack crossed every red line, and Israel reserves the legal right to retaliate. We are not a frog in boiling water. We are a nation of lions. Following such a massive and direct attack on Israel, the entire world, let alone Israel, cannot settle for inaction. We will defend our future.
It's called on the Council to take severe action against Iran. But it was Russia's ambassador that called his Western colleagues hypocritical and of having double standards. The US maintains that it continues to fully support Israel's right to defend itself, and will in the coming days explore additional measures to hold Iran accountable. There was a direct message from Iran directed at the United States, warning that should Washington initiate any form of military operations against it, it will use its inherent right to respond proportionately.
Iran's operation was entirely in the exercise of Iran's inherent right to self-defense, as outlined in Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations and recognized by international law. This concluded action was necessary and proportionate. It was precise and only targeted military objectives and carried out carefully to minimize the potential for escalation and prevent civilian harm.
The Council is yet to decide on what actions it will take, but this latest developments will most likely remain on its agenda this week. Jody Jacobs at the United Nations, reporting for DD India.
Condemning Iran's unprecedented attack against Israel, US President Joe Biden has pledged a coordinated G7 diplomatic response to the drone and missile strikes. On Sunday, G7 leaders held a video meeting to debate on Iran's attack on Israel. Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said that he hoped that the Israeli government shows restraint in its response. Iran launched over 300 drones and missiles at Israel overnight, which Tehran said was in response to the April 1 strike on its consulate in Syria. The latest attacks have raised threat of a wider regional escalation. President Joe Biden thanked U.S. fighter squadrons that helped defend Israel from a drone and missile attack from Iran. In a video posted on social media platform X on Sunday, Biden hailed the U.S. fighter squadrons as incredible. U.S. forces have destroyed more than 80 drones and at least 6 ballistic missiles aimed at Israel from Iran and Yemen.
Hey, you guys are the best in the whole damn world, man. The whole world. No, that's not hyperbole, man. Both these squadrons, you're incredible, absolutely incredible. You made an enormous difference, potentially saving a lot of lives, and thanks to extraordinary skill, the United States helped Israel take down nearly all those incoming missiles. You're remarkable.
Earlier, U.S. President warned Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that U.S. will not take part in a counter-offensive against Iran if Israel decides to retaliate for a mass drone and missile attack on Israeli territory. According to a White House official, Biden had informed Netanyahu in a phone call that he would not participate in retaliatory action and that U.S. will not support any Israeli counterattack against Iran. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday reconvened the war cabinet in Tel Aviv to discuss the response to the Iranian attack. Israeli officials said the panel favored retaliation in the meeting. However, it was divided over the timing and scale of any such response. The 5-member cabinet, including Netanyahu, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz, was expected to convene again for further discussions. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov have warned that new provocative acts can lead to an escalation of tension in the region. The two diplomats made the remarks in a phone conversation on Sunday as they discussed the latest developments in the region. Meanwhile, as tensions escalated in West Asia, Israel said that the country is still on high alert following the attack from Iran. Israeli military and its armed forces had shot down multiple drones and missiles launched from Iran. IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari said that Israel's critical mission in Gaza remained the rescue of all of its hostages still held by Hamas.
Even while under attack from Iran, we have not lost sight, not for one moment, of our critical mission in Gaza, to rescue our hostages from the hands of Iran's proxies, Hamas, of our moral duty to do everything in our power to bring 133 hostages back home. Hamas recently rejected the hostage release proposal offered to them by the mediators. Hamas and Iran want to ignite the Middle East and to escalate the region. We are still on high alert and assessing the situation.
India has urged immediate de-escalation in the wake of the rising tensions between Iran and Israel. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Sunday held a telephonic conversation with his Israeli counterpart and shared India's concerns over evolving situation in the Middle East after Iranian attempt to strike Israel. They discussed the larger regional situation and agreed to stay in touch. Dr. S. Jaishankar also spoke to his Iranian counterpart. The minister took up the release of 17 Indian crew members of MSC Ares. The leaders discussed the current situation in the region and stressed on the importance of avoiding escalation, exercising restraint and returning to diplomacy. Dr. S. Jaishankar agreed to remain in touch. All right, our correspondent Amritpal Singh is joining us live for more on the developments. Amrit, good morning. Now, yesterday we saw an emergency session at the UNSC was held with regard to the Iranian attack on Israel. Help us understand what all transpired at the session.
Different countries spoke on expected lines. Israel warned again of military escalation. It called for all possible sanctions against Iran, while Iran defended what it called its right to self-defense. It accused the Security Council and the UN and the world, the global community, of having failed to do its duty of allowing the situation to get where it is, and said that Iran was left with no option but to act in its self-defense. and it's justified its military strikes or drone and missile strikes, saying that they were proportionate use of force, and Iran will continue to defend itself. While the world called for restraint, they basically were trying to, ask both sides to show restraint so that the situation does not escalate any further. The UN Secretary General condemned Iran. Most of the countries condemned Iran, but asked Israel not to retaliate militarily. In fact, the Secretary General went on to say that any military response by Israel would amount to violation of international law, and Israel should bear that in mind. So, all countries basically took positions on expected lines, but the focus of the Americans and the West in particular was that while we stand with Israel on its defensive postures, we may not be part of anything that could be militarily offensive. Preeti.
All right, Amrit, talking of the situation now, Israel held the war cabinet meeting wherein it was in fact favored that Israel could take retaliatory action, but the timing and scale of this action was not, finalized. Having said that, US President Joe Biden also distanced himself, saying that US will not support any military action, retaliation from Israel against Iran. Put all this together, how is Israel positioned given the Israel-Hamas conflict is still on?
Well, what we see, the rhetoric that we see coming out of Israel is very threatening. It says that it will respond to it, it will retaliate. But the very fact that the war cabinet could not come to a conclusion as to how it should respond, when it should respond, speaks about the fact that they are weighing still the military option versus the diplomatic fallout of it, given the escalation that it may spark. So that would be weighing one on their mind. Secondly, what would be weighing on their mind is what to do with the 133-odd hostages. According to the latest reports, Hamas has said that it's ready to release them if Israel goes in for a 6-week ceasefire and allows the Gazans to move back to North Gaza. We'll have to see, though, the Egypt and US mediated talks broke down on Saturday, did not go any further. Despite proposals given by both sides, there was no meeting ground. One will have to relook at that. Will Israel now be able to negotiate with Hamas to secure any release using the threat of military strikes? And would Iran, now that it struck them militarily, though not with much success, but at least they've attacked Israel, would they now be on a back foot to accept some kind of mediation? So I think all that would be weighing on the minds of the members of the war cabinet of Benjamin Netanyahu. But most importantly, what will be with their calculations would be that how the world would respond to it. Preeti?
All right, talking of the response of the world, Amrit, India has urged de-escalation of tension in the region. Also, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar interacted, in fact, held a telephonic conversation with his Israeli and Iranian counterparts. We've given a broad outline of the conversation to our viewers. You spell out more details on India's stance on the situation.
Do not escalate, show restraint. The consequences of it could be catastrophic. It could lead to a humanitarian crisis like the rest of the world. Dr. Jaishankar and India's concerns are to do all to prevent regional escalation. So that was his advice to both his counterparts, the Iranian and the Israeli foreign ministers that he spoke with over the telephone. And he said that he will remain in constant touch. So I think that is what India's focus is. Of course, with the Iranians, he brought up the issue of the 17 Indian crew members of that ship that is in Iranian control right now and securing their release. Preeti.
All right, Amrit, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. So that was our correspondent Amrit Pal Singh spelling out more details and analysis of the situation. We will keep you updated of any developments. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to other updates. We will now update you on the Ukraine-Russia crisis. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday said his country needed help from its allies to repel threats from the air. just as Israel did against Iran's attack. Zelensky called on the US Congress to approve a vital aid package that has been blocked by political conflict for months now. Ukraine's forces are facing new strikes from Russian troops in the east and daily attacks on cities and infrastructure from Russian missiles and drones.
And the fact that sanctions against Russia are still being circumvented, and the fact that we in Ukraine have been waiting months for a vital support package, the fact that we are still waiting for a vote in Congress, testifies to the fact that the confidence of terrorists has also been growing for months. You can't waste any more time. It is necessary to really protect life wherever there is a terrorist threat to it.
You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of Bulletin. UN urges international community to ensure that the conflict in Sudan does not become a neglected crisis. Calls for empowering women in the crisis-struck nation. Spain braves unusual blow of heat, leading to a fire raging out of control in the mountains of Tarbena. Rain further aggravates the crisis in flood-hit Kurgan region, forcing authorities to issue evacuation advisory to the people in the region.
Tracks the pulse of the pole-bound southernmost Indian state of Tamil Nadu.
Voting is our responsibility.
This is a big fight between BJP and India alliance.
Will you vote?
Yeah, power of democracy. This is a huge.
BJP is trying her best, for the past 10 years under the flagship of Sri Narendra Modi Garu.
The 2024 Lok Sabha polls in Tamil Nadu are witnessing the battle royale between DMK, AIADMK and the BJP.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get you more international updates. US former President Donald Trump says he will be fighting for himself, but more importantly, he shall be fighting for his country. On the eve of his New York trial, Trump posted the statement on social media platform Truth Social. He said that election interference like this has never happened in the US before and hopefully will never happen again. Trump faces court on Monday on criminal charges stemming from hush money paid to an adult star. The first ever criminal trial of a former US president is due to get underway on Monday, with Donald Trump facing fraud charges in New York. The case revolves around hush money payments he allegedly made to an adult star to cover up an affair. Trump denies the charges, but the trial could have a major impact on Trump's re-election bid. DD India's US correspondent Nick Harper gets us more details.
A lot at stake here for the former US President Donald Trump. This case relates to a payment of $130,000 that was allegedly paid to the Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election. That payment was made to try and keep quiet about an affair that had taken place between Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump, an affair that Donald Trump allegedly now wanted to keep quiet at a time when he was running for president in 2016. Donald Trump denies both the affair and the payment. Now, he's been trying to delay this, and we've seen various last-ditch attempts to push back the case indefinitely. However, a judge has ruled that out, and it will begin later on Monday. It means for the next 6 weeks or so, Donald Trump will not be on the campaign trail. Instead, he'll have to be in court every single day. The likelihood is that he may try and use that as an opportunity to rally as part of his re-election campaign. He could speak to reporters and supporters outside court each day, either before that day's proceedings or after they have concluded. But it does mean that he won't be able to hold the large-scale rallies that he favours as a result of the need for him to be in New York City for this trial each day. Now, on Monday, we will see jury selection. That could take several weeks. Remember, they will be looking for 12 impartial jurors who feel that they can give Donald Trump a fair trial. There is a possibility that Donald Trump will testify for himself during the course of this trial. It's something that he's suggested that he wants to do. However, undoubtedly his lawyers would probably persuade him not to, as it could open him up to a whole raft of questions. This trial in New York, revolving around these hush money payments, is just one of 4 criminal trials that the former president is facing. However, it may be the only one that comes to trial before November's election. The other 3 all facing substantial delays. In Washington, Nick Harper reporting for DD India.
Chad's interim president, Mohamed Idris Deby, kicked off his presidential campaign on Sunday for the election next month. Chad's election is meant to end 3 years of military rule on a promise to strengthen security and boost the economy. Deby's government is one of the several juntas that seized power in West and Central Africa since 2020, growing concerns of a democratic backslide. Chad is the first of these to organize elections, despite regional and international pressure to swiftly hand power back to the civilians. Deby seized power in 2021 when his long-ruling father, Idris Deby, was killed on the front line against rebels in the north. The United Nations has called for greater humanitarian assistance to aid refugees and displaced people fleeing Sudan after the war between Sudan's army and the paramilitary rapid support forces. UN has urged the international community to ensure that the conflict in Sudan does not become a neglected crisis. The United Nations entity dedicated to gender equality has furthermore called for immediate steps to protect women and girls, support their economic empowerment, and include them in peace negotiations and decision-making. Despite the magnitude of this crisis, UNHCR says funding is critically low and threatens aid deliveries. According to the UNHCR, it will need $284.5 million to respond to the crisis in South Sudan and has only received 18% of that funding. Australian police on Monday said the attacker who fatally stabbed 6 people at a busy shopping centre in Sydney may have targeted women as the country mourned the victims and hundreds of people laid flowers near the scene. Police said on Monday that they had finished taking physical evidence at the Westfield Bondi Junction Mall. Police authorities claimed that the stabber had mental health issues in the past and there was no indication the ideology was a motive. Cyprus said on Sunday that it suspended the process of asylum applications from Syrians following a sharp increase in irregular arrivals this month. Cypriot President Nikos said that it is an emergency measure and it is a difficult decision to protect the interests of Cyprus. More than 1,000 people have arrived in Cyprus on boats from Lebanon since the start of April amid deepening tensions in the Middle East. Cypriot government spokesperson said in a statement that Cypriot President and EU Commission President discussed the possibility of offering a reinforced package of economic aid to Lebanon and would jointly visit Lebanon after a preparatory visit by Commission officials. A resistance group fighting Myanmar's military rule said on Sunday its fighters had repelled an attempt by junta troops to advance on the key town of Myawaddy along the Thai border that was seized by the rebels last week. Reinforcement of junta forces has been trying to advance on Myawaddy for days now, but were pushed back in a battle about 40 kilometers away, a spokesperson for the Karen National Union said in an interview. The KNU spokesperson said that information received from the front line put junta's toll of deaths and injuries from the fighting at around 100. He urged Myanmar's junta to see their recent military setbacks as a sign that they should hand back power to the people. An earthquake of magnitude 6.2 struck New Britain region in Papua New Guinea on Monday. No threat of a tsunami was reported yet. The earthquake was at a depth of 79 kilometers. Papua New Guinea sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, the arc of seismic faults around the Pacific Ocean, where much of the world's earthquake and volcanic activity occurs. The governor of Russia's Kurgan region urged people to evacuate flooded areas, saying rain was worsening the already tough situation there. More than 107,000 people have been evacuated in the country since the beginning of the floods. The Interfax news agency also cited the government of Tyumen region, saying that 2 villages were being evacuated as the authorities feared the area could be threatened by the Ishim River. The TASS news agency cited Russia's emergencies ministry, saying more than 14,000 houses across Russia have been flooded. A fire raged out of control in the mountains of Tarbena in Spain, leading the authorities to evacuate up to 180 people from their homes. Wildfire comes when Spain grapples with the unusual blow of heat, with many places marking 10 degrees warmer than normal for the season. The regional head of Interior and Justice, Elisa Nunez, visited the Field Operations Center where firefighters are operating. Experts claim the warmer weather is due to warm air masses continuing to circulate over much of Europe. In Indonesia, at least 19 people were killed in landslides in the island of Sulawesi on Sunday. The country's disaster mitigation agency said that rescue efforts were ongoing for those reported missing. The region has been affected by intense rain in recent days, displacing people and destroying homes. Let's take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world now. Cuban activists protest demanding stricter legislation to combat animal cruelty. The activists walked through Havana's Colón Cemetery with flowers and posters to pay tribute to Janet Ryder, an animal rights activist who died in 1931. The move aims to prevent cruelty and raise awareness about the need to protect animals. Two law enforcement officers were shot dead on Sunday in New York. The officers were responding to reports of a stolen vehicle when they were shot. Local media reported the shooter is dead. The incident is now being investigated by heavy force of police. A short break ahead, but after the break, political fever grips the entire nation. Stay with us as we get to a report on the poll pulse in Arunachal Pradesh.
Tracking the first phase of general elections, Team Poll Pulse has reached India's northeast in Assam. This is the tea city of India, Dibrugarh.
They are not getting jobs in the local area, like in Dibrugarh or nearby districts and all.
Home to the finest tea, the state is set for a cracker of a contest. This is 2024. Can the Congress and allies offer a fight back, or will the Modi juggernaut be unstoppable? Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. The Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. A quick relook at the top stories once again. Middle East remains on the edge even as UN and world leaders call for maximum restraint after Iran's attack on Israel. Biden warns Israel that US will not take part in any retaliatory action against Iran. Trump's efforts to delay New York criminal trial stemming from hush money paid to an adult star fail. Jury selection of a first ever criminal trial of a former US president due to start in a New York state court. Campaigning for first phase running in full steam, with political parties garnering support for their candidates. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address public rally in South Indian states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And in football, Bayern Leverkusen secured their first ever Bundesliga title, ending an 11-year stranglehold on the league by Bayern Munich. All right, let's get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. In India, campaigning has gained momentum ahead of its general elections 2024. Spearheading the campaign, India's Prime Minister and senior BJP leader Narendra Modi is on a visit to the southern states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, where he will hold public rallies. Home Minister and senior party leader Amit Shah will attend public meeting in the country's northeast states of Tripura and Manipur. Later in the evening, he will hold a roadshow in northwestern state of Rajasthan. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will hold a public rally in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. BJP National President JP Nadda will hold a public rally in Mussoorie in the northern hilly state of Uttarakhand. Also, India's Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia will file his nomination papers from Porbandar Lok Sabha constituency. Opposition Congress Party's President Mallikarjun Kharge will be campaigning in Puducherry in support of Puducherry Lok Sabha candidate V. Vaithilingam. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi is also focusing on southern states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Another Congress leader, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, will hold a roadshow in the city of Alwar in Rajasthan. BSP Chief Mayawati will hold public meeting at Moradabad in Uttar Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is witnessing a two-corner fight in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. The candidates are busy campaigning in different parts of the state, spread across the hilly terrain. The promise of development and infrastructure push around the state is something that people in Arunachal want. DD India's Dibendu Mondal has this special report from the state.
Development along Arunachal Pradesh has been a key focus of the government here. From roads to a new international standard football stadium to schemes such as Jal Jeevan Mission has impacted the lives of the people of the state. The mega infrastructure push by both the state and the central government is visible on the ground in Arunachal. The BJP is confident that the developmental work done by the party over the last 10 years would bring them back to power with a thumping majority.
कांग्रेस का समय में पूरा का पूरा रोड ख़त्म करके रख दिया, कुछ काम नहीं किया। रोड मैप है, अलकतरा तक किया है बोला है, लेकिन कहीं जाने से रास्ता दिखाई नहीं देता है। वो लोग बोला है कि हम लोग ब्रिज बनाया, ब्रिज कई जगह में देखा है कि 3 खंबा हरा है, उस पर कोई नाम आदमी जा सकता है ना बंदर जा सकता है, ऐसे सिचुएशन है। मोदी जी का जो मंत्र बोला है उसका मुताबिक और जो जैसे उन्होंने किया है उसी का मुताबिक फ्लेक्सी प्रोग्राम से उसको कवर कर सकता है कुछ चीज।
The people of Arunachal Pradesh consist of many tribes settled in different hills spread around the state. The quaint lifestyle and humble lives of the people here have still kept many aloof from the modern and urbanized societies in many big cities of India. The people around the state still follow their ancient traditions, from woodcutting to even hunting in many parts. The modest houses spread around even in the adjoining areas of the capital of Itanagar speaks volumes about the lives of the people of this far northeastern state. The major source of income for thousands of people here still comes from farming and cattle rearing.
बीमार वाले ये रामा कृष्ण जाता है ना, पैसा नहीं से आदमी मरेगा, ऐसे होता ना। गांव आदमी बोला तो ना, पैसा लेने मालूम नहीं होने से आदमी मर जाता है ना, पैसा होने से आदमी बच जाता है ना। मेडिकल जाना है, कुछ करना है, इससे होता है ना सारा। हम लोग प्रॉब्लम होता है ना.
Like this old fragile man who belongs to the Nishing tribe, dominated mostly around the Arunachal West constituency, their vote could be a deciding factor in this election. The villages here, although well connected through roads, locals say lacks good healthcare and schools.
अभी पिछले 7-8 साल में तो हम लोग यहाँ में अरुणाचल में डेवलपमेंट तो बहुत हो रहा है. लाइक सड़क हो गया ना, रोड का ये अच्छा हो गया, रोड बना दिया. उसका बाद में और पानी जल जीवन मिशन का अभी घर घर में पहुँच रहा है पानी. उसका बाद सैनिटेशन ना वो सब कुछ ठीक ही चल रहा है मेरा हिसाब से.
Many around Arunachal Pradesh are also happy with the work done by the government, but wants more from the new government which will be elected here. But some also say there has been no development that has taken place in the state and the ruling BJP has not thought about the poor people. Arunachal Pradesh goes to polls on the 19th of April, and with just few days left for the polls, citizens in Arunachal are also keeping a tight vigil, with cars and movement of people around are being thoroughly checked at several barriers put up across different parts of the state.
This hustling and bustling city of Itanagar, the capital of Arunachal Pradesh, which is a part of the Arunachal West constituency, is all excited to elect and vote for its new member of parliament. Kiran Rijiju will test his fate against the Congress's Nawam Tuki. On the 19th of April, the people of Arunachal Pradesh will decide who their representative will go to Delhi. With camera person Jagmohan, this is Dibyendu Mondal from Itanagar, the capital of Arunachal, for DD India.
All right, DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mondal joins us live from Itanagar. Dibyendu, good morning. When we talk of the first phase of polling, then 50 constituencies go to polls in Arunachal Pradesh. 133 candidates are in frame. Help us understand the poll contest in the first phase.
Well, good morning, Preeti, from here in Arunachal Pradesh. But you know, the contest here in Arunachal Pradesh
All right, Dibyendu, I'll interrupt you here. There is disruption in the audio. We'll try getting back to you again for better connectivity. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to other states in the region, in the country, in fact. We'll try getting back to Dibyendu again, but tea growing and production is a key part of the economy in the 3 parliamentary seats, Jalpaiguri, Alipurduar and Cooch Behar of the state of West Bengal going to polls in the first of the 7-phased national elections on 19th of April. But all is not well with this sector. Some tea estates have been shut down due to unviability, and it has become an election issue due to the impoverished state of its workers. Gautam Roy gets us more from Jalpaiguri.
The ruins of what used to be a well-established tea-producing business in West Bengal's Jalpaiguri, which has been in shutdown mode for over the last 20 years. The Raipur tea estate and factory sprawls over 2,400 acres. It used to employ nearly 600 workers in its heydays. But after being shut down due to unviability in 2002, its machines are lying idle, rust and cobwebs have taken over, the owners having left the unit to its own fate. Most able-bodied male workers have left the estate to find work elsewhere. Those who are left pick tea leaves for a local contractor for a pittance.
We are still working, but we only get rupees 160 a day for collecting the leaves and selling it to a local contractor. Workers in other tea estates get rupees 250 a day. We get lesser because our estate is shut down. Most workers have left.
We earn some money by working in other tea estates. Otherwise, we do other works like growing potatoes and some other vegetables.
Left untended, even the tea plants in the estate are going to seed. Cattle roam freely, grazing all around. And what took decades of nurturing to flourish and provide for workers and their families is wasting away.
This is what years of neglect looks like. These tea plants that should have been full of vitality and signs of quality for tea drinkers world over are now giving way to weeds, and a disease called red spider is also taking over.
Ruling Trinamool Congress representatives say West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has promised to revive 6 of the 12 shut-down tea estates in Jalpaiguri and neighbouring parliamentary seats, apart from giving tea workers land rights to their residential plots on the otherwise leased estate premises.
The CM has told us that at least 6 of the shut-down tea estate in Jalpaiguri could be reopened and revived. We are hopeful that Didi will do something.
The opposition BJP says India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi had offered to take over 5 Sikh tea estates to revive them, but the state government didn't cooperate. It charges the Trinamool Congress of making false promises and having other plans for the Sikh tea estates and their sprawling lands.
We want to revive the closed tea estates, but the state government want to finish them off altogether. They don't want to replace them with industry, but they are hand in glove with the land mafia. They want to build housing complexes and earn profits from it.
Come election season, hopes are being raised once again about the revival of Sikh and shutdown units like the Raipur Tea Estate and Factory. Whether that will happen or not will only be known after the elections. Until then, the fate of Sikh units like these remains as inscrutable, as illegible as the signpost behind me. With camera person Sumit Dhaman, Gautam Roy, Jalpaiguri, DD India.
In Tripura, electioneering is reaching a feverish pitch as leaders from various political parties are seen making last-ditch effort to woo the voters. In the first phase, Tripura West constituency will go to polls on April 19th. The state capital, Agartala, braces to witness major political showdown with the roadshow of Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra on 16th of April and mega rally of senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 17th of April, which also happens to be the last day of campaigning. For the first time, the accredited media personnel in Tripura will also get the benefit to cast their votes through ballot papers. The home voting for the electorate above 85 years and for Divyangs in Tripura East parliamentary seat will be held on April 17th and 18th. Delhi's Chief Electoral Officer has announced 25th of May, the polling date for voters in the national capital, as a paid holiday for all eligible employees, both public and private. Voters of neighbouring cities of Uttar Pradesh, Haryana and Rajasthan working in Delhi will also be given a paid holiday on the day of voting. This is also applicable for voters of Delhi working in neighbouring cities as per their polling dates. The initiative aims to push citizens to exercise their democratic right to vote. Up next, a short break, but after the break, gold prices further soar even as Asian shares slump after Iran's attack on Israel on Saturday. Stefanos Tsitsipas clinches his third Monte Carlo Masters trophy in 4 years on Sunday. And in IPL, Royal Challengers Bengaluru will take on Sunrisers Hyderabad today in Bengaluru. We'll tell you more.
Tracking the first phase of general elections, Team Poll Pulse has reached India's northeast in Assam. This is the tea city of India, Dibrugarh.
They are
not getting jobs in the local area like in Dibrugarh or nearby districts and all.
Home to the finest tea, the state is set for a cracker of a contest. This is 2024. Can the Congress and allies offer a fight back, or will the Modi juggernaut be unstoppable? Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Let's get to updates from the world of business now. Talking of the Asian stocks, the nation shares slumped and gold prices rose on Monday after Iran's attack on Israel, and Saturday stoked fears of a wider regional conflict and kept traders on the edge. Markets in Asia began the week on a cautious footing. MSCI's broadest index of Asia Pacific shares outside Japan fell 0.7%. Nikkei slid more than 1%. Hang Seng's index slumped 0.8%. The escalating tensions also sparked a flight to safety that sent gold rising 0.51% to $2,356.39 an ounce. Brent crude futures peaked at $92.18 a barrel last week. This is the highest level since October. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq futures each rose by 0.15%. The Indian benchmark equity indices Sensex and Nifty opened in the red on Monday, led by global cues and uncertainties. Following the trend in Asian markets, Sensex plunged 700 points and Nifty was near 22,300. Investor sentiment was affected by Iran's retaliatory attack on Israel, raising concerns about a potential wider conflict in the region. All right, joining us is market expert Ambarish Baliga for more on this. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on DD India News Hour this morning. When we talk of the skidding which was witnessed in the Indian markets and at the Asian bourses, was it on the expected lines, more or less, because of the crisis in Middle East?
Absolutely. I mean, because of this crisis and whenever you have the geopolitical issues around, it affects the markets first. And typically, we have a knee-jerk reaction, which is what we saw this morning. And going ahead, I think it will clearly be decided by, in case the situation gets worse or it stabilizes, based on that, the markets will move. But for the time being, yes, people are slightly afraid, skeptical as far as the geopolitical issues are concerned. Because whatever said and done, this has pushed up the commodity prices, oil prices are moving up. And there's also a fear that whenever there is geopolitical issues, it also affects the supply chains, thus pushing up the prices, reducing margins for the companies. So all these things are affecting.
All right. So these were the factors. But for investors, a quick word of caution. What should be the strategy from here on? And also, what factors in the near future would still be very critical and important in the markets?
See, other than geopolitical issues, as far as India is concerned, there are two factors which will affect us going ahead. Clearly, we are in the midst of elections. We'll be starting polling in this week and going on for the next month and a half. I think the outcome of the election is something which will be watched out for. And at the same time, what is important for India is monsoons. Although, we have SkyMet saying that monsoons would be normal. But I suppose closer to the monsoon time, which I would say is end of May, early June, is when we'll know whether monsoon will play out as expected or not. I think these are two most important factors which can affect the growth going ahead. And similarly, it can affect the markets. I think these should be watched out for. But for the time being, especially when you're talking of elections means certain amount of uncertainty. And although there are expectations, in case they are not met to a certain extent, we could see disappointment. So at this point of time, I would say one should be a bit cautious.
All right. It was not just very long before Sensex touched 75,000, and today you see it tank more than 800 points. Having said that, any specific areas, any specific sectors which the investors should look forward to?
Typically, if you look at a sector like FMCG, that normally performs during election period, because that's a time when you have more cash in hand as far as the bottom of the pyramid is concerned, and that's what can drive a sector like FMCG. So that's one space I'm decently positive on. And again, that space has not really performed too well in the last 12 to 15 months. So I think there's a decent amount of cushion on the lower side.
All right, that was about the Indian markets. What is your reading and evaluation of the global markets? We are talking of the geopolitical factors, how they have a bearing on the markets. What is your reading of the global markets?
No, I think as far as the global market is concerned, overall we are still seeing that slowdown. Although we are not really talking of recession, but there is a slowdown. Inflation is moving up. I think this will have a bearing on the global markets, especially the US markets. So I really don't see too much of an upside from here as far as the US markets are concerned.
All right, so that was a lackluster, shine at the markets, but at the same time, we see gold is glittering all the more. Your word of advice on the gold prices, and do we expect it further to move on here, further soar from here on?
I think the gold prices have already moved up decently well, and if you look at the history, gold prices don't move up continuously. It moves up in a sort of a block, and we have already seen that move. Unless, of course, the geopolitical issues worsen from here, I think only then the gold can move up more. But then, for the time being, I think the move is already done.
All right. A very quick closing comments from you because you've told us the investors need to be cautious and the times are still uncertain given the geopolitical situation and also the electioneering process starts back home. Put all this together, a very quick word of closing comments from you to our viewers.
See, I would say that in the last approximately 3 to 3.5 years, most of the investors in the Indian markets have made good money. As long as they have been investors, they've made good money. I think it's time to take some profits off the table, be in cash to a certain extent, because going ahead, we'll clearly see volatility. So if you need to utilize that volatility buy at lower levels, you need to have cash in hand. So when the markets are close to their historic highs, it's best to book some profits and take some cash home.
All right, put some profits and take cash back home once the markets are high. We'll have to see when that comes to reality because today the markets tanked more than 800 points. Sensex tanked more than 800 points. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in with your inputs this morning on DD India News Hour. All right, let's take that thought forward to our correspondent. Shama Mishra is joining us from Mumbai. Shama, we just had a word with our guest who in fact predicted a cautious approach for the investors in the coming few days. What are you picking up from the ground? We tell our viewers that Sensex tanked more than 800 points today morning.
Well, yes, Preeti, we are seeing that just a week back, markets had touched new records high, and at that time also experts or the market, the traders had cautioned a warning that we going ahead we could see some correction, but this particular reason where the Israel-Iran this particular drone attack or the Iran attack has played a major role over here to tank the markets down because of the fact that this area has a large supply of large reserves of crude oil, and going ahead if this worsens, then definitely crude oil prices will go up, and with that the Indian side because of the logistics, because of everything related to the crude oil prices, everything might go up, and that will give a push to the inflation to go above the normal range or the comfortable range of the Reserve Bank of India, and that's where the Reserve Bank of India's interest rates or the bi-monthly MPC would be playing a key role, because now we did see that this particular inflation was moderating. However, they have also said that they will be carefully monitoring the entire situation, but this particular reason will heighten the risk of the entire inflation, and going ahead we won't be seeing any cut from the Reserve Bank of India's side. So this has also become a headache for the traders, for not just the traders, but the industry players, for people like you and me. So if inflation rises, then definitely this particular scenario will get worse. Apart from that, we are also seeing everything, gold prices, crude oil prices, the markets, everything is getting affected. And we usually say this, that Indian markets take those sentiments coming from the global factors. However, we do say that India's story is strong, but this particular reason has a cascading effect, and that is why it will come back home and make situation a little bit tense. So that is why the reason is of the markets going down today.
All right, so we wait for the days ahead to pan out to see how strong the Indian story remains in these times of turmoil. Thank you so much, Shama, for joining in with those inputs. And from here, after business, we turn focus to sports now. Bayern Leverkusen scripted history as they won their first Bundesliga title on Sunday with a thumping 5-0 win over SV Werder Bremen. Xabi Alonso's side never, in fact, knew victory would secure the silverware with 5 games to spare, and there were no signs of nerves as they produced a performance worthy of champions. Under Alonso's guidance, Leverkusen are currently on a Bundesliga record unbeaten run to 29 games, 25 wins and 4 draws to chalk up 79 points. Leverkusen won the Bundesliga title with 5 matches left to end Bayern Munich's dominant run in the league. It was not even a close race in the Bundesliga this season. As champions, Leverkusen have a 16-point lead over Bayern with 5 matches remaining. Stefanos Tsitsipas clinches his third Monte Carlo Masters trophy in 4 years with a commanding 6-1, 6-4 victory over Casper Ruud on Sunday. The 12th ranked Greek will return to top 10 on Monday. He also won the title in Principality in 2021 and 2022. Tsitsipas displayed dominance from the start, swiftly securing the opening set by winning 6 consecutive games in just 36 minutes. Tsitsipas is the 5th man to win 3 or more Monte Carlo titles, joining Rafael Nadal and Jean Borg, Thomas Muster and Ili Nastes, who won 3 apiece. The northern province of Vietnam ranks 4th in the top 10 less visited wonders of the world. Ninh Binh, the vibrant city of Vietnam, is a place steeped in history and culture that is as colorful as the landscapes surrounding it. With spiritual tourism sites, Ninh Binh is indeed one of the hidden wonders of the world. Alright, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.